like the slight fissure damage reduction to Earthshaker. I think it makes him weaker support because you max fissure. Off lane slightly better, or not really as affected. It's not better, obviously, but it's not as affected because you don't always max fissure. But in general, I just think it's a good nerf. I think the hero needed something. I mean, I think this is a nice quality of life thing for Earth Spirit. Would have liked to see him added to Captain's Mode, but, you know, I don't know the hero well enough to see how much that would help him. I think Elder Titan had a solid buff. The mana scale recost, or the mana scale, cost rescale on his Ancestral Spirit's really nice. That's now you can use 3 spirits for every 2 at level 1. That's pretty crazy. And then the damage per creep is also pretty crazy. It's now doubled at level 1. So I think the hero's either a better support or better offlaner, like in terms of like significantly. His laning is just better now. The Ancestral Spirit, like from a creep wave, instead of giving him 12 damage, will give him 24, which is, I mean, that's significant in the early stages. Obviously, it got increased double and then only up by 3 on every other level. So I think earlier on it's a big deal. Otherwise, it's not that big of a deal. Stickiness is nice. I don't think that'll make much of a difference, though. Big buffs to Enchantress again. I mean, no longer a unique attack modifier. I don't know how much that'll help the hero, but maybe make Mask of Madness more viable. But she doesn't lifesteal off it anyway, so... but slightly better heal, so that's good. I think the hero is almost viable, so maybe now that'll push her into being a top-tier pick. They slightly nerfed the area, but they increased or made it so it's a faster cast on Midnight Pulse. It makes it so you can more easily like blink in Midnight Pulse and then ult. Maybe that'll actually be really smooth now. I've never played the hero and been like, hey, that 0.1 second would be a difference. Like in terms of I don't play the hero enough, but maybe somebody like Puppy would be more elaborate on that one. They also increased the radius, which, you know, that's a pretty big deal as well. I mean, that goes from 1,600 to, you know, probably about 1,800. A little more than 1,800, so that's pretty nice for the hero. Or not radius, the area. Another nerf to Rocket Barrage on Gyro. I think the hero's becoming close enough, or like becoming very close to that point where he's not going to be top tier or even viable again, but I think right now he's still viable. And also, this is a pretty big deal. In the mid game, it won't matter, but in the late mid game to the late game, this is a pretty big deal. Being able to slow people that are spell immune. So yeah, maybe I think Gyro's going to be like turned into one of those maybe 3rd or 4th picks by teams that used to pick him, and then hardly ever picked by teams that didn't very highly favor the hero. So here's my shed a tear moment for the patch. To people who haven't heard me talk about Huskar much, or don't understand Huskar, or don't play the hero, you know, you have 14 stacks, are the max amount of stacks you can get from his Berserker's Blood. So when you have 14 stacks at 7%, that gives you 98% reduction out of the 75 remaining percent, so you're pretty much 99%, you know, 98.5% immune to magic, which is pretty significant compared to 84%, which, you know, 84% of 75% is 5/6, so it'd be about 62, so it'd be about 87%. So you're going from 98.5 to 87%. So effectively nerfing him by 10 times. That's making his max passive 10 times worse at low health. Yeah. That is my opinion here. I believe that this hero will be very bad. And I hope I'm wrong. But I am very sad. And I'd be lying if I wasn't. If I said I wasn't. Another buff to Invoker. Increased his int. Made it so Alacrity does more damage and attack speed. And then... So, Aghanim Scepter now adds 1 level to the stats provided on all invoked spells. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Does that mean, like, maybe there's an 8th stage, like they get upgraded another level? I think that's what that means. I mean, Ag Scepter was a common pickup, at least in pubs, and I'm sure it'll be more viable now. And I'm understanding that you can now like target where you want to put the max level Destiny Blast instead of having it be always around the hero, which is another can be doesn't say the cast range. Salt Huskar picker. Yeah. So with Jakiro now, we got makes it so his Q is a little bit better in regards to that. Makes it so that both of his Qs or both of the fire and ice part travel at the same speed, and then they increase the damage, and they made his ice pass like super long again. So maybe this will push the hero over the edge. I like that because in the other patches he was only good for his passive, the unique attack modifier. I can't remember what it's called. I don't remember what it's called. But and that was like really annoying because it was only good for pushing towers. And so now they've buffed his fighting ability and laning. It's like a 25% increase on the damage of his Q, so that'll make his laning better. It's really weird scaling, though. I didn't even realize it used to be 16, 26, 56, so it more than doubled. I don't know the hero well. That's weird. I like now when they're doing this with more abilities. Like, what the fuck is this scaling? That's like much more normal. I don't think this will matter very much, but nice slight buff to Juggernaut. I don't think this will matter much either, but maybe it will on certain abilities with a 5-second cooldown. I don't know. Tidebringer does slightly more damage per Kunkka, mostly effective in the lower levels. And then I think the biggest change is the fact that his X marks a spot for a support Kunkka is now 8 seconds at lowest level. It's higher at the early levels, but now 8 seconds. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Makes his go shift slightly faster as well, but maybe support Kunkka will be a thing. 8-second fucking X marks the spot. That's crazy. Especially since on allies it lasts for 8 seconds, so you can like immediately X them again. I don't know. I don't know how much that will matter. This was one of the happiest moments of the patch for me. I might be playing this today. Legion Commander. Base damage was increased by 4. Makes her a better laner. Overwhelming odds cooldown reduced from 18 to 15. Also makes her a better laner. And then and counter pusher in the late game. And then presses the attack cast time reduced from 0.3 to 0.2. That makes it so you can more smoothly, buff yourself, blink in, and duel somebody. Overall, I think she needed to be buffed. I think she was garbage. So I like that they're buffing her in many different aspects. Very happy about that. I will definitely be trying her out to see how she feels. She might still be trash, but I think she'll be okay now. Nice quality of life thing here too. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Drum roll. Okay. Leshrac. Base damage was reduced, makes him a weaker mid laner. Lightning Storm jump distance reduced, makes him weaker in team fights in the mid game. And then significant reduce on his lightning damage. So, yeah, he's just a weaker laner. Pretty much all there is to it. It doesn't affect his farming speed all that much because his ultimate's still really fucking good for that. But I think he'll be a tier 2, tier 3 mid pick and maybe a tier 3 support pick now because of this. I think his lightning was what made him so good. And of level 1, it's almost half. So, yay. I fucking hate this hero, so I don't want to see him buffed even though I think he needed it. This makes him significantly better in dual lanes, mid or off lane. Makes it so that you can just sacrifice in front of the enemy without splitting it with them. And then they buffed his ult to move faster again. They buffed it last patch too. And then made it so that might matter, but it's only a slight increase on the attack speed slow. Rage cooldown, we're back to 6.80 or some shit now. Reduced back from 19 to 16. I remember it was buffed or it was nerfed from 16 to 19 earlier, maybe 17 to 19. So, they're understanding that this hero's trash. I don't know if this will make much of a difference, but it makes his downtime go from 13 to 16 or 13 to 10 seconds. So, that's a pretty significant buff when you think about it that way. You can also infest Ancients, so maybe you can give your team Granite Golem aura, but I think I'd rather... So maybe he'd support Lifestealer. That'd actually be pretty crazy. Wait, wow. Support Lifestealer? Get level 6, take a Ancient Golem and just run down their towers? That'd be dope. Okay, just theory crafting with that one. Nice, we also were waiting for this one. Lena Stun. The biggest effect here is the fact that it's no longer like a 1-point wonder, in my opinion. A lot of people, you'd have it 1 point until level 7. So it makes her laning / early kill potential a lot weaker by a 33% reduction on that. And then Laguna Blade is also pretty much the same up until max level, and it's just nice that her Ag Scepter Refresher doesn't do 2,000 damage. Slight buff to Lion. Spear Bear cooldown is really nice for Lone Druid, at least in the laning stage. You can be much more aggressive with the bear. I don't like this hero, though. And made it do, like, they buffed the damage on this last time massively, and now they're buffing it again. Maybe this will be insane. I have no idea. I feel like what this gives him is burst damage, which the hero lacks. So maybe, like, with one stun in the early game, he has level 6 and levels this shit and his bear. And is it both his bear? I think it's both him and his bear. Maybe it's just him. I think it might be just him. Maybe it's him and the bear. Let me see what you guys say here. Yeah, the 850 to 950 might make a difference with one-shotting the supports. Let me see what you guys have to say about this. I think it's him and the bear. Either way, if it's him and the bear, it's 180 damage, which is a shit ton. It's both? Wow, 180 damage on auto attacks? Yeah, pretty sure it's both. Sorry about my glasses, man. They helped me out a lot. But yeah, so that's 180 damage, level 6. So maybe in one stun duration, he'll be able to kill somebody as a carry. So I think it's a pretty big deal, at least in this meta, to have kill potential on your carries in the early game. So that'll be nice. It is him and the bear. That's what everyone's saying. So that's nice. I hate the hero, though. Maybe I'll have to learn him. Strength gain increased from 1.9 to 2. I think that helps the hero out a lot. I would have rather had her just get base strength increased, but hey, I'll take it. Then cooldown reduction on Eclipse makes her better in the mid game. And then Aghanim Scepter, you know, maybe it'll be a thing. Fucking 18 beams, max level. Holy shit. It's a lot of fucking beams, man. Strength gain increased, and then critical strike. Nice buffs for Lycan. Maybe with the nerfs to other heroes, he'll be much more viable in this patch. I don't think that these alone would make him good, but the fact that other heroes got nerfed, you might be seeing more of Lycan. I think this is a pretty big deal. I believe the duration on Empower is 30 or 25. Let's check that out. Game client's out of date. Let's check out Magnus. It's 40. Oh, wow, I'm horrible. So yeah, it's 40 seconds. So that means he can now apply Empower technically, like, you know, in an ideal world to his entire team. That's pretty nuts. Let's go ahead and go back to the patch notes, though, so you guys don't have to see my screen. So yeah, you can. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. Just makes the hero a lot better. Can more freely apply it on himself to farm and then give it to his carries. I don't know how much of a difference this will make. I think this makes her a significantly better laner. Maybe it'll make it so her snake one-shots the range creep at level 3 instead of level 4, which would be a big deal. It's always a big deal to be able to one-shot a range creep. So yeah, maybe this will be a big deal for her. And it also makes it more sustainable for mana, at least for farming too. Carry Marana is back. I don't think this will matter much, but maybe the hero will see more play. Doesn't really buff her as a support, so I think this really only matters for her as a carry. Morphling wasn't touched. Just kidding. Agility growth gone from 3 to 3.4. For a stats hero, that's a pretty big deal. At max level, he'll now have 12 more agi than he used to, which is simply free. And then adaptive strike damage, rescaled from this to this. Much more damage in the early levels. Makes him a better early game hero. It's very nice for the hero. Maybe Aghanim Scepter will now be good. I'm under the impression now that you'll make yourself a copy of that hero and then have your regular hero as well. So you'll basically, you could be like, say, Morphling DK. You could have like a DK illusion hitting a tower along with yourself. That'd be pretty crazy. I think there could be some pretty cool combinations. But overall, I mean, I think the hero will be a lot better. There's or at least slightly better, and then other heroes got nerfed. So I think it'll be the same thing as Lycan, and maybe this will push him ahead of the other heroes. I like the change to Naga. I think her Riptide scaling was just too poor in regards to the fact that it was like so good level 1 and then level 4 wasn't amazing. So doing this just makes her a weaker support. And then I don't know if we'll ever see this item, but nice. I think he has some of the coolest buffs on Nature's Prophet. Admiral Bulldog is back again. Sprout cast time, which is always nice. And then the mana cost is reduced. I mean, level 1, that goes. You can now have 3 sprouts for every 2 that you used to have. Treant movement speed increased. Treant vision reduced. But I really want to see this shit. I never saw a greater Treant more than one time all last patch. So maybe now with this combined, like now that you don't need to necessarily kill them with your ult, it's kind of like a Sand King Caustic finale. We'll see more of these greater Treants, and now these Treants hit like a fucking alchemist, so maybe. That'd be cool. We'll see, though. We'll see with that one. Necrolite, pretty significant buff to him here with level 1. If anybody remembered Troll Warlord, his axes used to do 125 level 1, and then they nerfed it to 75. I think it's a pretty big deal that a hero's level 1 ability does that much more damage. So for this hero, even though it scales to the same damage, I think this will make his laning a lot better. Thank God. I think this is actually a buff to all of us out there. So I think that we all fucking did not need to have that guy in our game that's like, I'm picking Necro and I'm going Ancients. And then he just AFKs all game and does nothing. So I think this is actually a buff to all of our sanities, but a nerf to the hero. And then nice buff to Sadist regen and health and mana regen. Just nice. Don't think it'll make that much of a difference, but once again, I think the major difference here is his early laning. Base health regen from 0.25 to 2. Yeah, man, I think that Nightstalker is a sick supporter offlaner now. He's going to be like the new Ogre Magi, where he just like walks at you and doesn't care about trading because he now has 2 health regen. So, I mean, I think health regen in the early game is a pretty significant deal. So this will make him a lot better offlaner / dual laner / support. So, I mean, this buffs Nyx Assassin's Ag Scepter. I don't think this is that much of a big deal. Because, you know, you still need to farm the Ags. I think it'll make a difference in the late game, but I think the major thing here is that his level 1 Vendetta is significantly longer, and his level 3 Vendetta is a longer duration than it is cooldown. So, I think that's the biggest buff here, and I think the hero needed it, so I'm glad they did it. Buff for Necro for sure. Yeah. So with Ogre, he now has 1 billion armor. 1 billion plus 1. He has like 8 point something starting armor now. Bloodlust, nice increase there, especially level 1. In the early game, I mean, that's 30 attack speed compared to 20. I think we'll be seeing a lot of Ogre Magi plus Tiny. Bloodlust can now be cast on towers. Ultimate counter push. I don't know how big of a deal that'll make, but I don't know the base attack time or anything of towers, so maybe 60 attack speed's like fucking machine gun. I have no idea. And then this is nice, just quality of life thing. I like this. I hate this aura stickiness from Omni Knight. I feel like I didn't even know it was 2 seconds, but it felt like it was too long, so that's really nice. And then they buffed his purification, so I think that's a correct. Oh, I can just fucking people can see my screen. Forgot about that, so you guys can read my messages. But yeah, so I like the changes to Omni Knight. I think he's basically the same hero in regards to how good he is, but I think it's much less annoying and much better in where he needs to be better. I don't even want to read this shit, but basically his first ability has no cast time, has increased range, increased radius, the one that locks them in place, but it does significantly less damage, and now at level 4 has like no fucking cooldown at all. So, I don't know if this hero has mana problems, but assuming he doesn't, this is, I think, a pretty huge buff. I think it can lock them in place for 3 seconds, so lock them in place for, I mean, I guess you count the channel time. Now it's 1/3 of the time instead of 1/5. That's pretty significant. Fate's Edict no longer amplifies incoming non-magical damage. I think this is a buff and a nerf at the same time. I think it's nice because you can, you know, make your allies immune to magic damage while they're, like, getting gone on. but now he doesn't, like, it used to be that he would just make it so you did Roche 50% faster, but now you can't do that anymore. And I guess you can purge it now, which is nice for Slark, actually. Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Didn't even think about that when I read it earlier. And then Purifying Flames cooldown reduce. That's the one that does damage and then heals them. So I don't think that'll make much of a difference, but maybe. OD, nice strength and gain increase, and now he always removes mana from people, which is really nice, especially against int heroes. I think that'll be a big deal. And then, but that no longer pierces spell immunity, and then his cast range is just longer. So I think they made his ultimate better. I don't know if that'll be enough for the hero though, because I feel like his ultimate wasn't bad to begin with. Maybe this will make a big difference. That it's hard to exactly calculate how big of a deal this is, but maybe in the mid game. Maybe even like strength heroes that have like Tiny or Slardar that need that like extra bit of mana, it'll make a big deal. I really like this one, PA, Orb of Venom, the new meta. Your Stifling Dagger now deals 60 damage, slows for 1 second, and then slows for another 2 seconds, and also does 4 damage over time. It's legit, and slows for 12 seconds, or slows for 12% for those remaining 3 seconds. That's pretty cool. Orb of Venom PA, new meta. And Bash. I'd like to see someone get bashed and crit by a dagger. That'd be pretty funny. I think that's really funny, and we'll see how it turns out. It's one of the funniest changes, but I don't know if it'll actually matter. Maelstrom PA. I don't know. Blur no longer has a delay. That's also a nice buff. Agility growth reduced. I like the changes to PL. And then they gave him a slight cast time on his doppelganger. I think this will make the hero quality of life for the hero a lot worse, but his agility growth, but I don't think it'll make the hero that much worse. But the agility growth is a good change. It's a good change overall. Makes him a slightly weaker carry, but I think he'll still be picked. Sunray, it's a nice buff to the hero. That's basically all it is to it. 25% increase on all levels. Puck's orb now moves slightly faster and travels faster because they're making it so it still lasts for 3 seconds. And then the cooldown was reduced, and Dream Coil cooldown reduced. So it makes the hero a lot better in the mid game, and even in the late game for the cooldown. So I think maybe Puck, because of the nerfs to the other mids, will actually be a top tier pick. I think Puck could very well be a top tier pick because of these changes. So, and the other changes to the other heroes. Rot damage is now rescaled. Weaker at early levels, but better later on. But now it slows significantly more. So I'd drop 5 damage for an increase of 7% slow at level 1. That's definitely worth it. So maybe Pudge offlane will be the new meta. Pudge support. I don't think Pudge will ever be a mid. I just don't think he does enough. I saw Mike playing Pudge earlier, so maybe, he's already seeing it for an offlane. Pugn is now a fucking race car. And he also made it so you can cast his ward from more than just point blank range. And then they increased his ultimate. So it's overall nice, but I think the hero is already a good situational pick, and that's about it. And I believe that's where he will remain. Slight nerf to Quap's damage on her ultimate. I don't think it'll be very big of a deal. And if she was picked before, she'll be picked now. That's basically what I think about that. I like this. Static Link now drains damage smoothly over its duration rather than every second. It makes it so you don't link somebody for 0.9 seconds and get no damage. At least in the lane, that'll make a difference. It's a nice change. Health regen for Ricky makes him better early on, maybe much better offlaner. Don't know if the hero will see any play, though. I like the damage increase to this. Maybe it'll make it a nice 1-point wonder in the lane. I don't think the hero needed to be buffed, really. I think he was okay, so this just makes him slightly better. And I think the hero is fine where he's at. Another reduction in cooldown to this, makes the stacks go on quicker, so maybe that'll make a difference at some point. I don't know much about Shatter Demon's poison cooldown making that big of a difference, though. I think the Shackle cooldown is pretty big for Shadow Shaman. That's a pretty massive cooldown reduction. I believe he now almost has permastun. I think Shackle's max level is 4.5, and Hex is 3 or 3.5. So, that's almost permanent stun. That's pretty crazy. Also does much more significant damage at max level, so I'm pretty sure the build will now be max your nuke, 1 point in Hex, and max your Shackles, because that's just a lot of fucking damage. Slight nerf to... they fixed Silencer, not a big deal, though. cooldown reduction to concussive shot, and then I didn't even know that Mystic Flare split its damage over spell immune heroes, but that's a very nice quality of life thing. I think the hero will still be a situational pick, though. The hero I just played provides phased movement. That's actually pretty nuts if you saw how it affected me in my game. And then basically they're making Sprint a much more viable ability in regards to the fact that instead of having it used to be like a 30-second or 28-second duration and a 40-second cooldown, so you basically only could use it when you needed it. But now you can basically just use it whenever, just because it's a 4-second downtime. So it's a less duration, but you can just spam it, and it phase movement in lane is pretty insane. You saw it in my game. I think this hero is still going to blow a dick. I think this hero is actually going to be really good. This actually increases her farming speed significantly. If she's ever killing a big camp, like early on, then when she kills, like say she's killing Hellbear Smashers and she kills the yellow one, now she does desolate damage to the big one. Like, that's a pretty big deal. That's pure damage added on to her attacks. That just makes her, I think it'll mostly, like, this will increase her farm pretty significantly for a hero that sucks dick at farming. And then Dispersion, I don't actually I understand how it works, but I don't understand if it'll be a buff or I'm pretty sure it's a buff. So I'm under the impression that, like, if you nuke her for 300, that she'll like disperse, 22% of that 300 damage back to you as a magic damage nuke. So I guess if Veil Spectre, new meta, I don't know. It also makes it so that if heroes do a lot of physical damage but have low armor, then she would be good against you. Because if she has 40 armor and buys an AC, like she has an AC with 40 armor, and then you have 5 armor, you'll hit her. She almost hit you for more. Wow, that's actually pretty nuts. Okay. I definitely think that's a buff then. Because you can build armor items without reducing the amount of damage you deal back. Wow. Okay, that's actually... Spectre may be fucking OP for all I know. That's crazy. Now uses pseudo-random chance. Whatever. I mean, 17%, well... maybe it'll be a less, bash somebody 5 times one gank and then bash them 0 another yank. Next moment in time that we are all waiting for. Praise Ice Frog. Fuck this hero. I now don't have to learn him. Remnant cost increased. That's a pretty big deal in lane. And then unobstructed vision. So that's really significant nerf later on in the game. And then this makes it so in the mid game it's much harder to just spam ball lightning for static remnant or for overload procs. So yeah, I think Storm Spirit needed to be fucking nerfed, and I almost think he's garbage now, but he's one of those heroes that before, like in 6.84, if you were a mediocre Storm Spirit player, you could still do well. And if you're a really good Storm Spirit player, you would just shit on everybody. And I think it's like now, like, if you're a mediocre Storm Spirit player, you're not going to be very successful. And if you're a really good player, you'll be, like, relatively successful on the hero. Nice buff to Sven for the early of the game. I believe that'll give him 2 stuns now. And then Greater Cleave, better level 1, which is nice. A lot of people were going, at least in professional games, 4-1-4, or, like, leaving it at one point at least until, like, level 8. So in the early game, his farming is much better. Praise Ice Frog for this one as well. Techies mines are no longer triggered when destroyed, so you can actually blow them up as like a short-ranged hero and not get fucking killed. And then Techies mines can now be destroyed using a Quelling Blade, so melee heroes can kill them. Yay. And then Techies mines now provide 10 gold. Yay. And then Cool Mines damage is decreased by 50%, but the mana cost is also decreased by 50%. And the damage. So everything's reduced. So basically you can lay twice as many mines, but they do have as much damage. I think that's actually a buff for the hero. But, maybe not. I like how they no longer have a max count because of this change. And they no longer block neutral spawns, thank God. And they no longer stack exactly on top of each other. That's also nice because you never knew how many there were, which was really annoying. I really like these changes. The Terrorblade is moved from Captain's mode. That wasn't the change I liked, but... they made significant enough changes. So basically his reflection is now, they're giving him the Bloodseeker treatment. This hero does nothing in teamfights. Let's give him something that does something in teamfights. So he now slows 900 area of effect. That's pretty massive. He has to see you, though. So that's, it's not as good as amazing as you'd think. But if he sees the entire enemy team pushing his bait or pushing your tower, you can, like, initiate onto the enemy team with a 25% attack speed slow and movement slow. That's pretty nuts, actually. I don't know if you have to cast it, if it's like a point cast on a hero still, or if it's like a circle, like, you know, you put like a gyrocopter ultimate. I'm not sure. They increase the cooldown at the max level, but I mean, I think it's significantly better as an ability. Conjure image illusions are now known. I mean, I think that's a pretty massive nerf. They make him so he spawns his illusions faster, but that's pretty annoying. I don't know. I mean, it makes him less of an illusion hero and more so of just like a, you know, his illusions are now utility and not like meant to. There's no juking or, you know, question of whether or not you go on the. There's like something to be said about illusion heroes where you see 3 of them and you don't know which one's real, so you have to like. You can't just blow everything immediately and stun the real one, but now you can. So maybe that'll be a pretty significant nerf. And then Metamorphosis now emits a 900 range aura that affects his nearby illusions, causing them to match his current form. I think they can still be distinguished as illusions. I just think that means now that if you like use Metamorph, and then you lose it, but your illusion was still in Metamorph, that it will go away. And if you had an illusion that was already up, and you go on Metamorph, it will turn into a Metamorph illusion. So I think that's like kind of a slight buff because now you can just spam illusions even if you know you're going to use Metamorph. I believe like you can use Manta and then decide to use Metamorph, which is really nice. But it's also like a slight nerf. But overall, I think it's a very slight buff. So Sunder cast range increased significantly. I think that'll make his team fight or survivability a lot better. So makes it a lot harder to play against the hero. I like this because he's like less of a split pusher and now more of a fighter. So I kind of like the rework. I was surprised that they reworked him, but I like it. Gush armor, slightly buffed. I think Whirling Death buff is nice, very nice for laning. 6-second cooldown on that shit's crazy for this hero. I mean, that's a 25% reduction in cooldown. You're pretty much spamming your shit anyways, so at least in like the mid game, but in the laning stage, it'll make it a lot better for kill potential. This is actually a pretty big deal in my opinion, mostly for level 2 rearm. A lot of people don't level up rearm to level 3 because of the mana costs, so they leave it at level 2. So now his rearm's just 25% faster, level 2. So that's a pretty big deal, I think. Base intelligence, or base strength, you know, it basically just gives him 2 damage, and his intelligence decreased by 3. That'll make him, so I believe if you buy like 2 branches, he'll have a stun, or 2 stuns. Like, he'll have a combo. So that's really useful for that hero, actually. Leech Seed mana reduction. Maybe it'll make it a better level 1 ability than it already was. The hero has pretty serious mana problems, but I think overall the hero will still not be that great. I think this hero still sucks. Very little change at all. Nice nerfs to Tusk, slightly more mana problems. Makes it so you can only be in the snowball for 3 seconds, so you can only save people for 3. I think that'll still be, like, I don't think that'll change all that much because he'll still be able to blink out because, like, you have travel time in the snowball, so he'll still be able to blink out because it is 3 seconds. Frozen Sigil no longer goes through spell immunity. That's a really nice nerf. I really like that. That was really fucking unplayable against as melee carries with BKB. And I like the buff to Agnum Scepter because who doesn't want to see people get kicked? Agnum Scepter no longer improves your Flesh Golem. Now makes it so Decay Strength goes from 4 to 10. I don't even know if that's good, I'll be honest with you. I think his Agnum Scepter is one of the worst shits in the entire game, but it's very interesting. We'll see how that turns out. Zombies slightly do less damage, but this makes it so his Tombstone is slightly weaker early on, but it's a lot stronger in base pushes because in the later stages of the game, you just get one-shotted on your Tombstone, so that makes it a lot better later, but weaker early. And yeah, same idea here. So this is another fucking sad face for me. Gets really fucking old. I don't know why they keep nerfing Ursa. I understand he has a high pub win rate, but he's never picked in Pro Dota, so I don't really understand what's going on here. But they nerfed his strength gain. I don't think that's that big of a deal. But the cooldown reduction to Earthshock, maybe the new Ursa is going to be like a fucking mid-Ursa with maxed Earthshock. I don't know, 5-second cooldown. I'm almost willing to try Mana Boots Ursa at this point with this cooldown reduction. For farming, like just spamming it for farming. It does 260 damage, I think, for 75 mana. It's a pretty cost-efficient nuke. Enraged Fury Swipes multiplier, it's same level 1, but nerfed again. But they nerfed the cooldown, or they buffed the cooldown pretty significantly, but I'd much rather have it on a slightly longer cooldown where I can actually kill somebody with it. I mean, if anybody remembers, at the beginning of 6.84, this was the damage multiplier at level 1. And now it's the damage multiplier at level 3. I don't know, man. I don't like it, but maybe the hero will be better. I think he's a lot worse now. Agility gain increased. Base movement speed increased. Just overall buffs to the hero. I think makes her a better support, more so than they have for the 5 movement speed. I don't think the agility matters. Maybe she'll be a carry. We'll see. I highly doubt it, though. Poison Sting just does more damage. I didn't know it didn't work normally on illusions. Per second reduced. But they buffed they basically made it normal numbers, and then they buffed the Aghanim Scepter to normal numbers. So, I mean, I think you purchase Aghanims on Vino every game, so overall, I mean, this is hardly a nerf at all, and it's just I mean, I don't think this matters at all, I'll be honest with you. Poison Nova. That's his ultimate, right? Then why is it... Why does it have 4 levels? Whatever. Nice. Overall makes his level 1 better. I guess his level 1, if it used to do 12 seconds, 16 is 480. 12 times that is not 480, I don't think. It would be 432. So yeah, it does more damage level 1. That's nice. Agility. And then, but makes it corrosive skin no longer pierce a spell mini. You know. Solid on that, but I think this is a pretty significant nerf. I don't think the hero needed to be nerfed, but I hate Viper, so I'm fine with that. Stun area of effect on Visage, slightly better. I think the birds are the main part of his kit, so I think this hero was already seeing a decent amount of play, and we'll see a lot, especially with other heroes being nerfed. Golems can no longer be destroyed by Purge. I think it's a nice buff in regards to the fact that he doesn't just get countered by a Diffusal Carrier. And maybe we'll see a shit ton of Warlock. But at the same time, I feel like his Golems suffer from getting kited, even with his slow. So maybe that'll change. I like the change, though. I think it's really stupid that an entire ultimate can be countered by a 3,000 gold item. The Swarm mana cost makes it a better level 1 ability, and then makes it also a better level 4 ability, because the cooldown is significantly less. That's, 25% reduction. So I think that ability on that hero is generally ignored or like left at 1 point. So I like the idea of increasing it like that. This makes it so if you're BKB'd, you have to be the primary target to be stunned by Winter Wyvern's Curse. I think that's a very necessary nerf to the hero. As a carry, it's almost impossible to play around something that's an AoE BKB disable. So that's really nice. First off, I just realized Faceless Void wasn't buffed at all. Holy shit. I thought of AoE BKB piercing disable. Death Ward damage increased, but no bounce. Scepter now deals the same damage. So basically Scepter just makes it bounce instead of giving it more damage. I think it's pretty much a neutral change to the hero. Base damage increased by 7. Much better laner. 7 base damage is pretty significant for last hitting, for kill potential in the early game when people have stouts and stuff. 7 damage, if you include that on 55, if the stout blocks 20, you do 42 instead of 35 damage. So even though 7 of 55 is only 12%, 35 to 42, that's like a 20% increase. So it's pretty significant actually in the early game. I like this as well. If you build like a Shadow Blade or you're smoked up, they can't see the fact that you are giving aura to your creeps. I think that that's a pretty massive problem for any heroes with auras. Like they made it so Shadow Fiend's aura can't be noticed, but now they gave it to Wraith King. That's really nice. I think this will still be bad, but, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see some fucking Wraiths everywhere. I like this change. Just quality of life thing. Aegis now provides temporary ground vision near your death area while reincarnating, so you basically see what's around you before you come back to life. That's very nice. Nerfs to Bloodstone makes it so that you need... It's basically like... It used to be that 1 charge meant every level you were leveled up was pretty much... Like, if you had 20 charges and you were level 20, you'd instantly respawn. But now you need 4 Bloodstone charges for every 3 levels, which is really nice. Like, no instant respawns anymore. Another nerf to heroes like Storm and Leshrac. Bloodstone no longer reduces gold on death, which was actually pretty significant in this patch. With so much fighting, you could just suicide and lose no money. So like, not only would the enemy get nothing out of it, but you would basically lose nothing. Bloodstone no longer grants vision or experience. I don't think that was as big of a deal, but I think that this change is the most significant, and this one is also a nice nerf. I think the item was just too good. Health restored is less on bottle, makes bottle slightly worse, but I think it'll still be bought in all scenarios where it needs to be. Yeah, it's a really weird change, but I think it needed to be nerfed, so it's good. Crimson Guard buffed. Diffusal Blade Purge. Freaking 0 seconds on the Purge cooldown. I really like that a lot. The item is only picked up on Phantom Lancer pretty much, so this makes the utility of the item a lot better. Drums are buffed again, so they'll be even better on heroes like Slark. Cooldown, I really like this. I hate Dust because like you can only use it once, and then like you feel like it's so long before you can use it again, and I thought that was completely unnecessary. So I really like this change to Dust. And then Enchanted Mango now costs 25 less, which is nice. And then the cast range is increased to use it on allies. I don't think that'll matter much, but maybe that'll make a difference one day. But I do like the change for that. It allows you to buy Tango, Salve, Stout, the Mango, and like a Branch or a Clarity, which could add up, you know, having that extra Clarity or Branch or whatever. Ether Blast cooldown, nice buff to Morphling here. And any other hero that builds ETH Blade. Maybe they'll be more viable for other heroes, but that's hard to judge right now. I like the buff, though. Cyclone, I like another nerf to Yule's. I think Lena's very bad now, honestly. With her stun damage being reduced, her ult damage being reduced, and now this. Basically reducing her initiation range by 125. I like this a lot. Guardian Groove's buffed. This is also one of my favorite nerfs. Glimmer fade time increased from 0.4 to 0.6, and then you can purge it now with Diffusal Blade, and then or other purges, and then the magic resistance is less. So basically, like in the late game, if they're pushing your base, you can have somebody either have a Diffusal Blade or like a Shadow Demon or something with a purge that can stop them from just Glimmer caping their carry and having them sit there. Like that was so stupid. And then the cast range reduced, which is nice, and the mana cost was also reduced. I don't mind that all that much though after all these nerfs. And I guess it's more obvious. I don't know what that means, but maybe it'll be easier to tell. And then Heart of Tarask, nice buff to that item. We'll see it more, I'm sure. Another buff to a hero like Spectre that just wants to build that item. Heaven's Helper could now be disassembled. I can't imagine a time where you'd ever really want to disassemble it unless you have like a hero that goes Shadowblade Halberd and then wants to go Butterfly Silver Edge. I mean, I can't imagine when this would actually be good, but maybe. I like this a lot. You can now like dominate the really small creeps in the game and give them 1400 health. Could be really obnoxious, but I don't know why this item's getting buffed. I feel like it's picked up a shit ton already. Like it's already better than Mask of Madness, and now it's getting buffed. Doesn't really make sense. And they also made this, so Armlet costs less, Helm of the Dominator costs less, and Veil costs less. Most significant out of all those, I believe, is Helm of the Dominator. It's the most oftenly picked up one. And, I mean, a 50 gold reduction in the early game. That's one less CS. I mean, that adds up. So, it's really nice for that. Mana cost reduced, cooldown reduced on the Echo Shell Lotus Orb. I think the item was really close to being good enough to be picked up on a lot of heroes. So, I think that that's a good change for the item. I really like this change for Manta Style. I feel like a lot of heroes I picked or I had Manta Style on, I wouldn't buy it simply because of the mana problems that it caused. So I really like this change with the mana reduction, and then the cooldown reduction is also nice, but I think the most significant part is, like, I think the item needed to be purchased on more heroes. I think this is a buff to heroes like Anti-Mage as well. I think Anti-Mage will still be a top-tier carry, especially with stuff like this happening. But yeah, I like the mana cost reduction very much. I like how you can no longer target BKB units with this shit. That was so OP. And now it reduces armor values by half against Roche. Makes it so you can't just buy a medallion in Roche with no damage other than the medallion. So I like this a lot. I like these items a lot. And also this is really nice too. I think these items were too OP, and I think they'll still be good, but not like bought every single fucking game for no reason on heroes that had no business buying minus armor reduction items. So yeah, I like it a lot. I don't think this will make much of a difference, but maybe in the super late game. I like this a lot. It may be everyone at first glance would be like, yeah, it costs 300 less. My first thought is, yeah, I can walk into the secret shop and just buy it whenever I want. That's my favorite thing about that. Really good change for the item. I don't think it was picked enough, and now you can just be like casually walking by the secret shop and be like, oh yeah, I need a moon shard, and then just buy it. I think that's really nice. And buff to Necrobook makes Lycan better. First thought on that one. I really like this as well. I remember this. I played Necro last patch with Greaves and an Octarine core, and you can't like use the Greaves with the cooldown reduction because like I don't know if anybody knows this, but when you mech or Greaves, like you can't mech or Greaves in the duration that the cooldown's on. So like if the Greaves are on a 45-second cooldown, and then you had the Octarine, so it made it like 33 seconds, and you Greaved in the 12-second period between 33 seconds and 45 that it was off cooldown, you wouldn't actually get anything from the Greaves other than just the mana. So I remember that. So now this actually could be pretty crazy Necro buff. I was thinking about this in here. Imagine a Necro book that or a Necro Fos that rushes Greaves, and then like it's a pretty smooth build up into Octarine core. Like the point booster's not bad. The soul booster's like a solid item for the hero. It helps him farm. So maybe like go like mana boots, blink into those items, like mana boots, blink, mech, or mana boot like blink for farming. I don't know. A lot of creative ideas. I think this would make a hero like that a lot better though. Don't think that's much of a difference, but nice buff. So basically what this does is that it makes the buff 50% better, but the duration almost 50% less. So I'm pretty sure you'll move about the same speed or the same distance over the 3.6 seconds that the phase buff would have moved you before. I believe that would be correct. So like now you'll catch up the same amount, but I also remember like there's a lot of times where you'd want to use items during phase boots, and if you used any items, like even like a wand or anything or any abilities, then you couldn't. Then it would cancel the phase. So now that I think about it, doing this might be a nice buff, and then a nerf to ranged heroes. So it'd be like an overall buff to melee heroes, and then like a slight nerf for ranged heroes. For this, I like this. Treads were OP. I also think that these two things make Boots of Travel just better overall. Because the upgraded boots are just not as good anymore. But on heroes like Slark, you still need the treads, stuff like that, and Anti-Mage. I like this, not big of a deal though. Nice buff to Spectre. Yay, Spectre. I actually don't like that hero, but if I have to play it, I will. Cooldown reduced. I think this item needed to be buffed, so that's really good. Teleport scrolls are now free. 75 gold. So that's really nice for supports. And I think in that game I was actually waiting for 100 gold for a TP, and I could have bought one in that last game. Probably did that once or twice. I'll have to take getting used to. Slight nerf to Boots of Travel, but at the same time, Boots of Travel are so good now, I still think, and that's like crazy. Ring of Health and Voidstone, slight buff to all the items that require them. 25 gold. Not that big of a deal, but 1 creep earlier on your Battle Fury, 1 creep earlier on your Lotus Orb. Could make a difference. 2 creeps earlier on your Refresher Orb. Probably not that big of a deal, though. Recipe cost reduced by 200 for Veil. I think Veil will finally be seeing play. I think that item is extremely good in certain scenarios, and it just used to be too expensive or just not viable, and now it's finally been brought down to a price. And especially it's not only has it been it's been buffed by 200, but it also got buffed by 50 from the Helm of Iron Will reduction. So yeah, I think that 6.85 has fixed a lot of the problems. I find it very unnecessary that they nerf some of the heroes, but I think some of the strongest heroes will be like Slardar off lane. I think Timbersaw will make a comeback with all the nerfs to the other heroes. I'm glad to see Techies. I'm gone. I think we'll see a lot less Storm Spirit. I think Spearbreaker will be one of the stronger offlaners. I think Spectre's a very strong carry now. I think Shadow Shaman will be seeing more play. I believe Pudge offlane will be another thing. I believe Puck mid will see a lot more play with the nerfs to Lina and Lesh. I feel like those were her worst matchups. I think Shadow Fiend will see a lot more play because he was not changed while the other popular mids were. I believe Phoenix was already strong and will be seeing more play. I believe Nyx Assassin offlane might be more viable. I believe Necro with the changes to... they should have made it so his ult purges, honestly. Make it so he doesn't get countered by Glimmer Cape. Oops, just push the back button. I believe Morphling will be a stronger carry. I believe Medusa will be a stronger carry. Magnus is a stronger offlaner. Lycan stronger carry. I believe Lifestealer will still suck. Lone Druid might be better. Leech Commander will actually be a better offlaner. And yeah, I gave you my review. I think Huskar sucks dick now. I think Gyrocopter will be a niche pick instead of a first-round pick all the time. And then Drow might be slightly stronger. Doom offlane will be stronger. Clinks will be another strong hero. I don't think Chaos Knight has been given enough, but maybe for if teams can figure out minus armor strategies. I think Bloodseeker is now trash. I think Black Rider might actually be a strong offlaner now. Whoever heard of just stacking with him and then nuking it with Flame Break instead of actually using Firefly? I think Abaddon will also be a really strong offlaner. So that's my opinion. I think Anti-Mage will also still be a very strong carry. So that's my analysis of this patch.